The Tselinograd event is a crucial moment in Kazakhstani history. It is one of those few public protests that took place during Soviet times. This was in reaction to the government's plan to divide up Kazakhstan into a German autonomous region as a form of appeasement to the ethnic German minority, most of whom were exiled to Siberia during World War II, and an affront to the cultural and territorial integrity of ethnic Kazakhs. Due to the powerful urge not to let the erosion of the local culture occur, hundreds of Kazakhs mobilized onto the streets of Tselinograd on June 16, 1979. The Soviet regime underestimated Kazakh national sentiment and possible unrest in society. During this event, ethnic Germans held ambivalent opinions. Some aspired for autonomy while others feared isolation. In the end, the government had to give up the plan, realizing that it could face a local conflict. The event is important because it was the first organized Kazakh opposition in the Soviet Union, and it reveals just how complicated issues of ethnicity and nationality would become for Kazakhstan at that time.
So let's talk about the consequences and the conclusion of the Tselinograd events of 1979. So the first main conclusion is that the Kazakhstan and the people of Kazakhstan became indivisible. The Kazakh land became indivisible, which means that there is no place for the national autonomies, which played a role in the future state building of the independent Kazakhstan, which meant that there will be no autonomies. So the main implication is that if the Soviet government succeeded in creating the autonomy for the German people, the Kazakhstan would collapse, as other nations such as Uyghurs, Russians, Uzbeks, and etc. would ask for the autonomy too. So therefore, the main conclusion of the Tselinograd event is the first step in the state building, nation building of independent, centralized, and indivisible Kazakhstan. Also, these events were to some extent a catalyzer for the Желтоқсан events of 1986, which meant that during these Tselinograd events, the government did not really oppose the protesters, which means that the Kazakh people were allowed to protest, which meant that it played a role in the December 1986 event.
In December 1986, Alma-Ata was the state of significant unrest during the events surrounding the Желтоқсан protests. The demonstration erupted on December 16 in response to Soviet government's decision to replace the Kazakh leader Nuraiym Kunaev with a Russian, Gennady Kolbin. This sparked widespread anger among the Kazakh population, leading to mass protest demanding political reforms and greater national rights. The unrest was met with a heavy police presence and brutal crackdowns, marking a pivotal moment in Kazakh's struggle for identity and autonomy without the Soviet Union.
When Moscow chose Kolbin to lead Kazakhstan, many Kazakhs felt their culture and values were ignored, which made them angry. The Желтоқсан protests helped Kazakhs feel more pride in their identity, and they were ready to defend their culture and rights. After these events, Moscow started treating the republics differently. Over time, this helped lead to the end of the Soviet Union. Желтоқсан was a big step toward Kazakhstan's independence in 1991. It made the national movement stronger and spurred new changes. In 1986, Желтоқсан protests left a deep mark on Kazakhstan's history and became a symbol of the people's fight for rights and justice.
The main difference between two events is that they happened under different political contexts. The Tselinograd event happened under authoritarian Brezhnev rule, where the different political thinking was not allowed, and Желтоқсан 1986 event happened under Gorbachev, where the democratization and liberalization process of the USSR happened. However, despite the liberalization, the Желтоқсан process was violent and Tselinograd was peaceful.
In the Tselinograd protest of 1979, Kazakh citizens peacefully opposed the Soviet proposal to create a German autonomous region within Kazakhstan. The demonstrations were relatively small in scale, and in response, Soviet authorities decided to quietly abandon the autonomy plan without escalating force. By contrast, the 1986 Желтоқсан protest, sparked by the sudden replacement of Kazakhstan's local leader with a Russian appointee, saw a massive turnout and they were met with brutal Soviet repression. Authorities deployed military forces, resulting in numerous deaths, injuries and arrests, while labeling the protests as hooligans and nationalists to delegitimate their movement.